great consumer products, and we have all used Netflix, Spotify. These products have always had AI, right? Like the playlist generation or the recommendation was powered by AI. What has happened suddenly is that AI has become more mainstream, right? So more use cases have come up, right? Hardware products are difficult to replace. So the stickiness and the quality of integration into your life is also much more deeper, right? So that's the difference. So though the shipping cycle is longer.
In today's fast moving consumer tech world, AI isn't just a buzzword. It's transforming the way products are designed, experienced, and scaled. At the CXO Cafe, Coding Ninja learners got an exclusive opportunity to interact with a leader who is driving this transformation. Our learners had the exclusive chance to gain first-hand insights from Mr. Manas Jaiswal, VP and Head of Product at Noise, as he revealed how AI and innovation are redefining products, crafting smart experiences, and unlocking exciting new paths. Now, here's your chance to peek into that exclusive session reserved only for Coding Ninja learners. Okay, sir. So, as I already mentioned, that your journey has been really inspiring from your early career to leadership role currently at Noise. So, could you please share with us that how did you enter the customer tech space, and how did your initial years or your academic life play a big role in shaping your career that's today?
Sure, absolutely. I think someone is voicing out that the sound is not clear. Am I audible, first of all, guys? I think I want to just check. Hope my voice is clear. If like people can just shoot up. Okay, perfect. Yeah, super, great. Uh, so I've been in the tech and product space for almost 17 years now, but I'm actually like a very accidental product manager. I think a lot of people will relate because I'm not like a cookie cutter product manager who went to a B school and then joined a Flipkart or Snapdeal or a Paytm and started their career. I actually was an engineer. I graduated in 2009. I joined Accenture, did a bit of analytics with Cognizant, and after 5 years of my initial career, I was at this junction that do I really join another data company or services company, or what do I do, right? And this is back in 2013, right? 12 and 13. And interestingly, back then, consumer internet space had startups like we had Book My Show, we had Free Charge, MobiQuick, Paytm. These are very initial businesses on the consumer side that was sprouting up, right? So I knew there was something called startup and there's something called consumer internet space. We had seen, Facebook and Orkuts of the world. So we did understand the West is building technology, but very small things were happening in Indian consumer space. Interestingly, I wanted to kind of join a startup. I reached out to like a handle at Delivery, which said CEO hiring at Delivery, and the founder responded because they were also starting very initially. Delivery, if you know now, is a public listed company. And I said, listen, I don't want to do coding, honestly, but can I do anything with you, right? And back then, the only opportunity, there was no product management back then, right? In India. So they said, listen, you can either do operations, business development, or HR. What do you want to do? Because we need people. So I said, I'll do business development because, I understand I don't want to do code, I don't want to do ops, and who do HR, right? That's what was my thought. And that's how I started doing business development. So I actually used to sell last mile and warehousing solutions for delivery. I was like the 35th employee initially. And but it was very interesting because I was in not an engineer, but I'll say I used to code. So I used to go and speak to a lot of these, and this is the time when e-commerce was starting in India, right? That's the first consumer internet space that became big in India, right? So this is the time when Snapdeal and Flipkart were raising their Series A. Amazon had not even entered in India.
Right.
Shopify had not even entered India, right? So I was actually going to these merchants of different sizes and scales and brands and saying, why don't you go to e-commerce? And I have to come back with these insights, right? And I could understand and speak some engineering. So the engineers used to like me because I would not go and push for something because I would understand कि ठीक है इसमें time लगेगा इसमें नहीं लगेगा, right? Versus being a sales guy and saying मुझे ये कल चाहिए, right? So that was my thought, and that's where I started getting at the center of product, data, business, and they said, why don't you start doing product management? Because this is the kind of business you want to build, a more internet enabled business and more tech enabled business. So why don't you start there? So I kind of started that way. So that was my first shot at actually becoming a product manager. So it was absolutely accidental. And then of course I realized there is more e-commerce, payments, classified and, consumer internet and tech businesses that you can kind of build on your career, right? So I'm actually an absolute fluke in short kind of product manager, just got lucky and I'm here. So that's the journey I started on.
That's really interesting, Mr. Manas. And I guess that all of our learners could relate to it. Mostly we have engineers or people who are moving into the tech
Sure.
space right now. And
Yeah.
a lot of people have this thought that, okay, you can go into product management or the management only after doing MBAs. But we have a real example here. And I think it's very relatable to one and all. Okay, so let's make it more interesting. So, looking back, so what was your first experience with technology that really excited you and that made you say, "This is what I really want to work on"?
Uh, And to be very honest, I'm like, this will reveal my age and it's like not going to guess it. But like, I'm coming from the era when, when I have used ICQs and Yahoo Messengers, like when I was young. And then I've seen how Facebook was just like profile page where you used to send requests and then they transition into like a Facebook feed. I'm coming from that era, right? Where people used to not DM, but like write on post. Like there will be like 1,000 messages on a single post if you're fighting with a friend or your girlfriend, right? Or your friends, right? So I'm coming from that era. But I think, to be very honest, my most interesting kind of memory where I thought, this is something we should do. And I was an engineer by then, by the way. This is, I think, 2007 when iPhone got launched. And it was very interesting because iPhone got launched in 2007, I think, what I remember. And it was not launched in India. And I had a friend who had some relative who got this. He was very excited about gadgets all the time. And this is when we used to use Nokia's, right? So we did not have any concept of smartphones, by the way. So he got this device, and this device didn't used to even operate. There was no cellular capability. You had to actually unlock it from a AT&T level and use it and jailbreak it. But we just used to kind of connect Wi-Fi, download apps, jailbreak it, and then use it, right? So I thought that is the first one, and I thought that this is really cool, right? Because I could see a form factor actually, which was like devices with buttons and let's say a smaller screen size, which is Nokia phones or your other phones, to actually convert to like a device that you can actually use and text, and you don't need a keyboard physically, right? So I thought that was really cool. I know a lot of people tell you the Apple story, but I mean, I'm at a level where I could see the first launch and everything, right? Of course, we never saw the Apple launches, but we knew that this was a very, very cool product. So one of my friend actually got me into it, and since then I thought I've seen so many products. So, but I think my most memorable kind of moment where I thought this can be done. Why can't you build an app on it? Why can't you kind of do more services on it, right? That got me interested actually.
And that's really interesting. And starting from iPhone when it exactly came, because I'm also a 90s born, and 2007 was when we were in standard 7, I guess 12,
Yeah,
13 years old. So that was really exciting, seeing that iPods, then iPod Touch came and everything came and really
yeah, yeah.
inspired everything.
Yeah, I think another device, and this is not software, by the way. I mean, to be very honest, most people, when technology got introduced, a lot of people used to use hardware devices, right? You will use your PCs, you'll use your iPods and iPhones, right? So your introduction, a lot of 90s people that got introduced to consumer internet or tech was actually hardware devices. And then came, let's say, other use cases on devices when people start building app, right? So like a Paytm came up, a wallet came up, a Book My Show came up, where you could build more form factors on the mobile device. So I thought that was very, very interesting in my journey.
Sure. So connecting with that, and we have seen as right now we are seeing the mixture of hardware and software at Noise. So Noise
Yeah, yeah.
sits at the intersection of hardware, software plus data, which is being collected regularly. So
Yeah.
how different is it to building products here than compared to the traditional software companies or the SaaS-based companies directly? How is it different?
It's, I think hardware products are generally more harder. I'll tell you why. Because see, there is always a software and data layer. You will have an app ecosystem, you will have a website, right? Which is classic to any business that you have today, right? Which will just be pure play software. But the complicated part gets in where you kind of have a device which has a hardware, software, and firmware layer, right? So hardware is basically the physical hardware, it has sensors, then you have an operating system or a firmware which talks to the software so that everything comes together, right? I think that gets more complicated because the cycle to build a hardware product is much longer, right? Because if I talk about the launch of, like, if you want to build a really good product, it takes almost a year. I mean, when we say that, Apple and Samsung and the biggest tech products, consumer businesses will launch hardware products in years and decades. The reason is that the innovation cycle is very, very long, right? You have to really build and ensure that the quality is very high. Because if you kind of build a hardware product, like if you build a software product, you will kind of identify the problem, write a PRD, decide with your engineer and designer, this is the solution, start and shipping in sprint, right? Roll it out, iterate, right? Hardware is much more difficult because you're building a physical product. So you have to build a product, you have to define what you want to build, what it solves, all the specs, you build a prototype. Then there's something called engineering validation testing, where you kind of spec out the engineering sensor level ecosystems part of it. Then you do a production validation testing, a design validation testing, then you go to mass production, right? So there are multiple steps when you roll out a hardware product. The chances to roll back is much lower. In software, you can always upgrade and ship out something, right? Like an OTA update or a new release. In hardware, it's very difficult to do. That's number one. The number two complexity is that you just don't work with product managers or engineers or ML folks. You work with industrial designers. You work with CMF experts. You work with firmware engineers. You work with algo engineers, right? You work with so many. You have to much closely work with, let's say, branding and marketing team, because it's a physical product that will go. So the brand ethnicity, the concept, the design, the form factor, everything matters, right? As much to as a level where Noise and a lot of other leading products will really figure out how does a strap feel on your arm, right? You will do 100 tests of that, right? But is it sweat resistant? Is it not? Can you really run with it? Can you go out on a party? How will it react to heat? How will it really react to different ethnicities, different color, body shapes, right? You have to really test the physical and the software product at nth level, right? And durability testing. So there are so many layers that you have to kind of test it. It's a longer cycle. It's a more complex cycle. That's the challenging part of it. But then the ability for you to kind of get massive amount of information once the product gets attached to a user, right? If you have like today you have your laptop with you, it's a part of your life, right? Your device is a part of your life, it's an extension of your life, right? So the hardware products have this advantage, like apps can be deleted, can be replaced, like quick com, right? You will use Swiggy, Blinkit, Zepto, doesn't matter, you'll use a new one, right? Hardware products are difficult to replace. So the stickiness and the quality of integration into your life is also much more deeper, right? So that's the difference. So though the shipping cycle is longer, it stays with you for a much longer time.
Right. As we were mentioning that a lot of data is also collected, and when we are talking about noise and also smart wearables, so there are a lot of different types of data that has been collected from the device. So
Sure.
how do you make sure at Noise that these data, which is actually collected in huge amounts, are just not collected, but are eventually converted into insights and also become business decisions in future? Because I guess a lot of different data would be there. So if you could tell us that what are the different data that's collected which help in business decisions?
Yeah, I think you can, we collect like Noise collects large amount of data because they have, I just talked about smartwatches. There are 10 million active smartwatches today, right? In India right now, which are being used, right? So you're collecting heart rate, sleep, performance, workout data regularly every day, right? So the data points is also large. The frequency is also large. But my personal opinion is that it's not about how much data you get. It's about how do you use that data, right? You can collect a lot of data, but data from an initial point to getting to pattern recognition to insight is the journey you take normally, right? Otherwise, there's no value of data today. Like you can collect a large amount of data, like quick commerce players can generate a lot of data, but today if they do not really understand what SKU is selling at what geolocation and pin code, right? It's of no use for them, right? So they're trying to kind of optimize for that. So to use your data accurately to ensure that there's business value and customer value. That's number one. Noise, we used to get a lot of data and a lot of insights because hardware behavior, software behavior, buying behavior, how people are buying this in offline and online, right? Everything we used to get. The interesting point at Noise was that I'll give you a very, very great example, right? We used to get this when you have a hardware device and with everything, we used to get a lot of complaint every time we were to launch a watch. Used to get battery बहुत जल्दी जा रही है, right? Like your customer support used to be filled with saying मेरा replacement करो, battery जा रही है. It's a constant thing, right? The initial thought of every customer support person was if the customer is escalating too much, replace कर देते हैं. Let's replace the product. But what we eventually realized was that through data is that if there's Bluetooth calling, lot of teenagers use it. Now they will kind of talk to their girlfriends all night using the watch, right? And then the battery is getting depleted because you have Bluetooth connectivity and data is getting transmitted. That will drain the battery. A lot of people will switch on workout and forget to switch out, right? So we realized that how people actually use the device was actually causing battery issue, right? Rather than blankly replacing it, right? Now that was only possible because we could get logs from your device, could understand the pattern, and then really educate the customer or take a right call that should be replaced or not. Is it genuinely faulty or not, right? So it's a very simple insight. I did not talk about any crazy AI bit. It was a simple data log that you could actually fetch and understand the pattern usage that the device had, and then kind of make a decision, right? So you have to kind of understand what data that you get, the quality of data, and second, as we were saying, is that you have to use it in the right business use case. This, by the way, helped us save a lot of money because replacement went out and we could really educate customers. In fact, for smartwatches, we built something called Batometer, where we used to kind of show people today how are you using your watch, how much battery is going into, let's say, calling, activity, notifications, everything, right? So that also gave users a lot of clarity and experience got a lot better, right? So that's one example I would say.
And I guess data does help a lot because, decisions, as you mentioned, this was just a very small example, and you would be getting a lot of information, which actually data analysts and our learners here mostly are data analysts. So I guess that we have always tried to tell them that use the data, just using the data or cleaning the data is not enough. What insights are you getting out of it? I guess that's more important, if I'm correct, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the insight that you get of it, and see the insight, I mean, you can have a great insight, but till the time there is no business value, customer value, it's of no use. The example I gave you had both customer value and business value. Business, because customer support person could really take a call कि मैं replacement करूँ या नहीं करूँ. Customer got more transparent to really say, is this even an issue or I am using it too much, right? So you have to solve for the problem. The insight can be great, but then you have to execute it on the ground, right? And that's where the real value is.
So, we were talking about noise and all these smart wearables and a lot of data. So the consumer tech space is changing very rapidly. And every month there are new updates or there are new tech in the market. So at Noise and also in such companies, how do you feel, and what is your take, that when launching products so frequently, how do you make sure that the infrastructure, the technical infrastructure that you have at the company is always supporting that, and not just supporting it, it enables the speed that the technology is wanting? Because I guess infrastructure can't be changed every time. So how is this thing taken forward?
I mean, the fundamentals have to be really solid. I'll tell you why. Because, I mean, if you look at, like, if I take Noise as an example, the complexity was much bigger because if you look at smartwatches, you will have Android devices, you have Android smartwatches, and then you have Apple watches, which is on iOS, right? Noise is the operating system impervasive, which means you can use the same device on an Apple device and you can also use it on an Android device. Now, ability for you to kind of sync data from Bluetooth from more than 1 crore devices on a daily basis, which will flow to your systems and backend, was only possible through, I think, getting the fundamentals right. That is basically ensuring that you have an extremely strong modular tech stack. That is number one. And that also enabled us to kind of scale massively, right? Because if we were doing smartwatches, we were also doing audio and we were cross-selling the same user, right? So let's say if I've sold this to ABC, now tomorrow, if that person is kind of coming in the ecosystem, buying another product or any other device, how do you really get this data collectively to retarget better or give them a better experience? As simple as saying, I don't need your login, you have a Noise login, right? So you can single tap login, right? So the idea was to kind of have common backend services for data, firmware updates, user auth, notifications, remarketing, so that the experience looks more ecosystem oriented. Like when you today use an Apple ecosystem or Gmail, your ability to switch between different services and devices is seamless, right? And that's why you kind of love these products. That is the whole point of building a modular system which has common backend, so that the experience that the user gets is much more seamless, right? So our focus was that only. Like if you buy a Luna ring today and you are in the Noise ecosystem, you should be seamlessly getting your data, you can kind of get an access to a smartwatch. If you're tracking multiple smartwatches in a single family, how do you do this? Let's say you have a smartwatch and your kid has a smartwatch. How do you really do a family level tracking, right? These elements were only possible from an experience standpoint because we had common backend services which were extremely modular, right? That kind of helped us build infrastructure which was more robust. And then again, as I told you, like you can solve for much more use cases, like family use cases, tracking use cases, cross devices use cases. It became more seamless.
That's amazing. And also one of the most amazing things that we have seen in recent years, and especially 2025, is AI. It has become such a buzzword today. Everyone has AI in this mind. So if you could, tell us or throw some light on how AI is playing a role at Noise, like both sides in the customer product and also behind the scenes in the business operations.
Yeah, I mean, every day there is some AI update. I'm sure you guys know this better than me, but it's very interesting because when you kind of have something where hardware, software, and backend operation, the use cases becomes very, very interesting. I'll tell you like software use cases. So for smartwatches, one of the biggest use case that we had on the smartwatches side was that can you do AI summaries? So you'll track your workouts, right? You'll track your steps, distance, and calorie. Every 15 day, you will be able to kind of, get a summary of how you're performing and what you should do basis your goal, whether it's, let's say, weight loss, weight gain, being general fit, right? These are very simple use cases where you can use LLMs to kind of ingest data and kind of start suggesting. But I'll give you more crazy use cases. And I'm sure you have seen AirPods 3, where ability for you to transcribe data, translate audios, right? Predictive health alerts, AI coaches. So these were some software bits. If you look at just pure play hardware, where you use an edge machine learning model on your device, I think AI assistant, predictive alerts, gesture controls. Like I'm sure you've seen this in Apple, where you can tap and you can flick and you can control a lot of stuff, right? That was there. Backend operations, again, I think the biggest use case for most is to drive more efficiency and reduce cost. And the biggest cost at a backend level is basically having a large call center who's where you get customer queries on a daily basis, right? So we were able to kind of test out AI agents who will essentially kind of a voice agent that we had trained, who could actually who could be the first level of call and help you kind of debug and answer and reset your devices for you. If not, then we'll go to an engineer of course at the back end. But the first layer to kind of save cost was through AI agents, right? So we were trying to explore voice agents who can talk in English, who can talk in different languages, Malayalam, Punjabi, English, right? Everything, right? So we were trying to kind of do these things to kind of scale to, let's say, better operational level cost and again effectiveness, right? So that was on the backend side.
Cool sense. I think AI, even the buzzword, even the thing is very cool right now for every one of us. We are seeing so many updates every day, seeing so many changes, and even like 2 days back now we are seeing that ChatGPT launched its own apps that you can directly connect with your Spotify and everything. So that's I think very, very amazing. So for our learners who are trying to get into AI, tech, and data, so what's that skill or mindset you think that they should focus on if they are building AI powered consumer products?
See, again, I think having knowledge of how an LLM works, what is RAG, how do agents work, I think that is table stakes. I'm sure so much information is available for free that you can kind of use an LLM itself to train yourself today and learn all this. So much data is available. I think the fundamentals of it will be the same. I think for you to be very smart with AI, you have to ask the right question and frame the right question, right? I think I believe that a lot of people today are not able to get prompt engineering right. I think that's the biggest use case, right? How do you really ask the right question? Because when I ask a question versus, let's say, if you ask a question and you understand how to really get the answer out of an LLM, that's the fundamental difference. So I think asking right questions historically has been told by our ancestors to ask the 5 whys, right? The fundamental remains the same. You have to use the tool in the right way. So you have to ask the right questions, and your ability to communicate has to be really, really good. So that becomes a superpower for you. So anyone who can write the right prompt, be really clear and self-aware of what questions he or she needs to ask. That solves them a lot. I think second is to experiment. The things are moving so fast right? That you can build. So, like you mentioned, ChatGPT's latest launch, which had app ecosystem. They've also launched an agent ecosystem. Now, I know for a fact that a lot of people found n8n and LangChain very difficult to use. Now, if you start building an agent on OpenAI here, it's very, very simple. I've not used it yet properly. So you have to keep on experimenting and trying, right? You have to look at different use cases and keep on experimenting. These are the only two mechanisms, to be very, very honest.
Sure. And uses our learners from full stack development. So we have another cohort of learners. So if you had to pick one area that really they need to focus right now in today's time, it could be backend systems, API cloud, or whatever you could suggest. So what would you recommend, and why do you recommend, if you could just tell our learners?
I mean, it will sound cliche, but I'll do AI integration, because what has happened is that there are two parts to it, right? I mean, if you look at great consumer products, and we've all used Netflix, Spotify. These products have always had AI, right? Like the playlist generation or the recommendation was powered by AI. What has happened suddenly is that AI has become more mainstream, right? So more use cases have come up, right? Like noise integrating or a Paytm integrating. I saw that there was a launch where Paytm has now a soundbox with AI integrated, where you can talk to the device and say ki kitna kharcha ho, everything, right? More use cases are coming up in different form factors in different industries. So I think there is a massive AI wave which is going on. I'm not sure how long will it last, but if I have to put my bet on it, I think it will last enough for our engineers to kind of, ride out through it. So I think that is one use case. And plus, I think there's a lot of value you can provide, right? Whether it's image generation, video, content. We all are seeing like different crazy use cases today where people are using AI for different use cases, right? So I think AI integration is one thing a lot of people should focus, whether it's a product manager, a data person, or an engineer. I think everyone should kind of have that in mind, of course, and the fundamentals of backend systems, APIs will always be there, right? So I think the basics don't go out of the window, but you want to focus on something new and ride the wave. I think AI is the one.
I'll also keep our next question, more related to our data learners. So according to you, what matters most? Strong core data skills like data modeling, analytics, or to make the ability to make that data into insights, and also business and product decisions. So the strategic part is more important, or the core fundamental data analytics part?
Oh, no, I mean, it depends on the scale of the data and the complexity of data. There is no right answer. I would love to say insights is everything, and I mean, that's a cliche answer, but there are a lot of times where ingesting and building data pipelines is extremely hard, right? And it takes fantastic pipeline engineers and data engineers to actually come through and build that, right? And in large scale consumer businesses, that's a need, right? Because the data is so massive and so complex. So I'd say both. But again, I mean, if you have to really choose one, the insight is always greater than dashboard, right? So you have to have the right insight for you to make the right decision, whether it's commerce, whether it's backend systems, whatever it is, right? So in my mind, insight is always greater than, let's say, dashboards, but equally important of both, right? It depends. It really depends on the complexity of the data structure and the company's entire data architecture for you to really decide which is more important.
So we always have this thought that mostly people who are early professionals, they always have this thought that, first of all, what to choose, either go to startups or go for a reputed MNC. So that's a very big question everyone has. And also, if you could tell us that what are the different skill sets, or if there is, which is required in startups and in the MNCs?
So the question is, what is the different skill set that is required in startups or MNCs, right? So the skill sets are fairly different. So I'll tell you. So in a MNC, it's more structured. You will have policy guidelines and structure put in. So the ways of working are defined. You have to kind of go and kind of adopt and understand the ways of working and execute. So it's more execution. The execution and the operations part of it is very, very critical there. In a large startup, essentially, or a small startup, your curiosity and ability to solve problems is more important, right? So in a MNC, you will never have a problem where you are not getting enough resources to solve a problem. You don't have to go above and beyond to really kill through it. Structures are placed in. If you really play your cards right and perform well, you can scale. In a startup, you will always require high agency. High agency essentially means that your ability to, irrespective of every issue that you have to come through and deliver, right? And no one is going to come and solve those problems. I think that's the fundamental difference. The growth opportunities, of course, is much higher in a startup because you're trying to solve something, but the risk is also much higher in a startup because uh, most people don't realize most startups do fail or will stagger at one point of time, right? And will go through cycles. A bigger company is a safer bet. So it depends on where you want, what is your individual goal, and where do you stand in life to make that decision, to be honest.
And so that was an advice, but what would be your recommendation or suggestion that going in the initial careers, going for a startup or going for an MNC, and if it does make a difference?
I mean, this is a biased opinion, but I'll say go for a startup. I mean, I'm coming from an era where masters in US was a big thing, right? People used to go for this MS and MBA. I'm not even an MBA from India, so I'm not the right example. But masters was a very big use case. I still did not go because I still believe that the India growth story and startup story is extremely, extremely strong. I have worked in startups majorly. I think the only MNC I have worked is Accenture, Cognizant, and if you want to call OLX a big company. Otherwise, I've practically just worked in companies and different levels of their growth story. I personally believe that you should join a startup. The risk is going to be higher, but the reward is going to be much bigger. So maybe today you'll compromise on, let's say, salary or working hours initially, but the amount of learning that you get to is extremely huge, which can land you in two situations. Either you can have a great outcome in that company if that company grows big and you stick around, or your skill set will double and triple and compound to a level where you can start your own company tomorrow, or maybe join another company and scale that, and that company can have a drastically big outcome. So I'm a very big believer of the startup ecosystem that India. I've seen it for more than a decade. I've seen multiple cycles also now because I've seen the startup ecosystem for a decade and 17 years is overall experience. But I will always push people to kind of join the startup. The joy of building something that is yours, that works or fails, is so high. That is something you'll never be able to experience in an MNC. And that is exactly where I was at a crossroad. Today, there is so much options and so much knowledge. Back then, there was none, right? So I made a judgment call. It worked out. But now there's so much information and opportunities available that I'll always push people to kind of join a startup. That's a biased opinion, but like there is always like to each their own, to be very honest.
Very true. So we're talking about noise, and also we're talking about Apple. So in product-based companies, especially, so there are
Yeah.
a lot of developers, there are a lot of data analysts, but to reach to a leadership or a strategic position, what do you
Mhm.
feel? What are the skills or mindset they should have that takes them to a leadership or strategic position, especially in product-based companies?
I think two, to be very honest, and which is true for most leadership. One is decision making. I mean, you can be a great engineer and you can write brilliant code, but to be a tech leader, you have to take decisions, right? And your decisions can shave off milliseconds from an API or cost the company millions of dollars, right? So you have to be a great decision maker and you have to be right? Whether it's hiring, whether it's making a decision about your infrastructure, whether it's actually questioning product managers and business to ask why it makes sense from a tech point of view, why this is the future, right? So you have to have the ability to make decisions and ask right question. Second, you have to be adaptive, right? I mean, things have changed drastically with AI. Let's say one example for, let's say, how engineers write code, how things are changing, how products are being built, right? So if an engineer is adaptive, he can become a 10x engineer or 10x leader if they kind of harness the right I'll say tailwind, right? So I think you have to be adaptive. It can be AI, it can be Web3, it can be crypto, it can be anything, right? Doesn't matter. But if you're adaptive and you kind of ride the cycle, then you can play longer. That's number two. And number one, as I said, is basically you have to be a good decision maker and you have to be right, because as a tech leader, you have to make decisions. And as you go up higher in the chain, your ability to make mistakes goes much lower, right? So as an engineer at bottom of the stack, make 100 mistakes. That's how you learn, because the outcomes that you kind of fail on is very less and you can take those risks. But if you keep on making your decisions, keep on learning as you go up on the stack, you will be kind of a leader who can make decisions with confidence and back it. And second, of course, your probability of being right will go much higher, right? So that will make you kind of grow as a tech leader, definitely.
Amazing suggestion, and I hope that all our learners and all our viewers are going to follow that, because what we are also trying to do at the 10x Club is take their careers from X to 10x, and I think this is the best suggestion that they could get. So you also mentioned that things are changing very rapidly, and adaptive is one of the way. So looking ahead, what mindset or habits should our learners adopt right now if they want to thrive at the intersection of tech, data in the future, and also stay relevant and not get obsolete?
Uh, don't chase the hype. I mean, of course, AI is cool, but fundamentals, again, as I said, will remain the same. I mean, just because AI is there, you have to learn how to write and communicate, right? Otherwise, AI fails you, right? So, I mean, you have to kind of uh, ensure that the fundamentals are always sorted. Second, if you're trying to like build any business, you have to also look at the lens of customer and business, right? I mean, a lot of times we get really involved into how cool the technology is, or how what kind of crazy outcome it can drive. But if you have to really provide customer and business value, right? Whether it's tech, product, design, data, doesn't matter. Till the time there's no customer value or business value, it doesn't make sense, because there will not be a mass adoption. We've seen so many products, right? We've seen so many cool tech products. I'm not sure if you've heard about a product. It's called R Rabbit. It was a device which was launched. It was an AI device that can do a lot of stuff for you, like an assistant. There was a humane AI pin. I'm talking about hardware right now because it will make more sense. Failed. These are failed products because it could not really solve the customer problem, right? And the business sense also, the business value also did not come through out of it, right? So you have to really build the right product at the right time. Like if you look at Meta glasses, right? They're functionally saying that they're not chasing hype. They've been building that product for a decade, right? They've shipped multiple iterations, right? Ray-Ban stories, then Ray-Ban glasses, and now the glasses which has a heads-up display, right? With neural band link. They invested 10 years back in a company, bought it out, right? So it's a long cycle. So you have to kind of really understand things will compound for you, right? So you have to play the long-term game. Essentially, you have to keep on building. That's number one. So don't chase the hype. Be patient, definitely. These are general advices, by the way. I'm not giving any tech specific advices because it doesn't make sense. I mean, things will change, as I said. But if you don't chase the hype, clear your fundamentals, your thinking is right, and you keep at it, right? And you are patient, then your ability to disproportionately build a great future is there, right? I think that will not change. Because if you follow the fundamentals, your chances of actually screwing up is much lower, right? And that gives you a pattern or a formula or a framework to be successful. So that's my kind of advice to any learner. The fundamentals will always remain the same. All this is hype. The hype sustains, great. You're adaptive, you're learning, you'll ride the wave. If the wave goes away, you are a smart person, you are not chasing hype, you will ride the next wave, right? So the fundamentals is what is very, very important.
So before we move to our last set of questions, the rapid fire, I was also quite curious to know if you have any examples, related to how data or any technical part that was really interesting when you're at your work journey in noise, and you didn't think that the problem or the situation was going to be so immensely interesting, but at the end it turned out to be very interesting. If there is any such example.
I will give you an OLX example, to be very honest. Like it's very interesting because we were in the business of car transaction. I'll give you just a quick gist of what we did, right? We used to buy and sell cars. And so it was a marketplace that used to connect the seller with the buyer. The problem was that you have a car with a seller. You have to kind of get an inspection done with the car so you can price it and then kind of offer that to a customer that he or she can buy it, right? The biggest problem in the car industry here is that how do you really value the car, right? The quality of inspection. And this is again, by the way, an AI example, right? And this is during COVID times. And the idea was that there's a lot of TikTok, Instagram reels and video, right? So our idea was that the product manager and me said that, hey, all we do is that kind of record the video of the car inside, outside, scratch, dent, everything is getting detected through the video, broken in frames, and we can price the value of the car, right? And we launched a video feature where you can like go around the car, build a video, upload it, and within like a minute, our model will run in the background, assess the quality of the car, and will give you an estimated price, right? When we launched this, and we were inspired from TikTok and Reels of the world, and that's where Gen Z was moving, right? But what happened when we launched it? We saw two things. People hated the experience. Ability for you to just like be on the road and just like move around the car. The camera is shaking. You don't know, do you have to say something, don't say something. It was such a bad experience. Sounds cool, but it was such a bad experience that users never adopted. The second thing was that ability for you to take a video, upload it on to a network and compress it and then like break it in frames and then detect things out of it was much more difficult, right? So we realized that, by the way, we have made a mistake. Video is actually not the right way. The right way was to kind of just build stencils of the car dynamically as you point and click photos and send them. The idea was that every time you click a photo, you move and you click the next photo. By that time, that photo has gone up on the cloud, processed, and that has become an input to your pricing, right? So a lot of times when you think that there's something cool and you will want to build a cool solution and you want to use AI and use everything, but it fails because the customer experience did not back it, right? And then we kind of move from video to, let's say, a photo-based solution, right? And we tried this in everything. Imagine selling a Mixi on OLX when you shoot a video. What do? Mixi on करो, off करो, आवाज करनी है, नहीं करना है, क्या करना है, right? Customers will get really weird. They said, boss, photo दे दो. फोटो खींच देख के बता दूंगा, स्क्रैच डेंट छुपाऊंगा नहीं, बट वीडियो हटा दो, बट फोटो दे दो, राइट? सो वी वेंट अ स्टेप बैक फ्रॉम वीडियो टू फोटो बिकॉज वी थॉट ऑलवेज वी नीड टू प्रोग्रेस, राइट? सो आई मीन दैट इज वन ऑफ द एग्जांपल्स वेयर द डेटा, the customer insight, the macro, everything said move to video. But when you launched the video ecosystem, it drastically failed for us, and we went back to photos again, right? So that is an interesting story. More also, but I think this will do.
Yeah, surely interesting, because I think we got this understanding that at the end of the day, in B2C also, it's a lot about it's customer centric and what the customer wants and feels, and data could be wrong. So
I'll give you another example and it will be helpful. I really want to tell you. This is more on the business. So I have spoken on the consumer side. I'll tell you about car dealers. Now this is Task 24. One of the biggest insight when you sell a car to a dealer is engine sound. वो साउंड सुनता है इंजन की, ठीक है? वो बेसिकली फोटो देखता है, डेंट स्क्रैच देखता है, बट इंजन साउंड से वो प्राइसिंग लगाता है बिकॉज that's the biggest cost of your car, right? If the engine is bad, then the cost to repair for the dealer goes higher. It's a simple insight. So when we used to kind of auction car to dealers, we made a feature जहाँ पे हमने क्या करा, हमने कहा इंजन का ऑडियो रिकॉर्ड करेंगे. हमने इंजन का ऑडियो रिकॉर्ड करा, डीलर्स को रोल आउट करा. We thought numbers will bump drastically. We went to dealers, they said हमें यूज ही नहीं करना है. We said why? He said I don't listen to the sound. आपने तो बस साउंड लगा दिया है. I have a mechanism. मैं रेस देता हूँ बहुत तेज, फिर मैं एक मीडियम रेस देता हूँ और फिर मैं एक धीरे रेस देता हूँ. इन 3 साउंड के इनसाइट से मेरे को पता चल जाता है कि गाड़ी का इंजन कैसा है, right? So that's when we went back to the drawing board and we said, by the way, when the guy is inspecting, उसको 3 ऑडियो या 2 ऑडियो रिकॉर्ड करने, एक हाई रेस वाला, एक स्लो रेस वाला. And that's when it became like useful for the user. So the insight was there कि sound लगाना है and everything pointed us in right direction. But the way we executed in the end and how the user was actually using it was broken, right? So that's another example. I'll not bore you guys with more, but I have tons. But
I think both were really interesting, and I think no one was bored for this. Okay, so we'll move to our final set of rapid fire questions, which will be very quick questions, and then we can take questions from our learners. So after this, learners, request you to please post your questions in the Q&A section and not in the chat. It will be helpful for us to take the questions. So please type in your questions and we'll try to take as many as we can. So let's start with the rapid fire, sir. So the first thing is hardware or software? What drives innovation more?
I'll say software and hardware both. I think, there's like the handshake is where the magic happens. I think, you can't run AI without GPUs, and you can't run, let's say, an Apple without the hardware and the software element, right? So I think both, to be very honest.
So most fun part of product development, ideation or launch?
Launch, 100% launch. Like you can spend 100 years and decades to launch something. The car is sitting in the garage. When it goes and hits the road is where the magic happens, right? There's no point of having the car in the garage. So 100% launch.
Okay, so user feedback or internal metrics, what influences product decisions most?
It's a mix of 3 actually. I'll be very honest. It's a mix of data, user feedback that you get directly from the users of how they perceive about the product or what their problem is, and then is gut, right? It's a mixture of three. You can't just like build products by user, and I gave you a lot of examples where we build products by data and gut and user feedback. It failed, right? So it has to be a combination of all three, to be very honest.
So like the most surprising way a user has used a product.
Oh, I'll give you a crazy example. We run fitness challenges in our app for smartwatches and noise to drive engagement. Every time there's a challenge that runs, it's like a week challenge where you have to complete X number of steps on a daily basis and a weekly basis, and whoever wins gets rewards, right? Uh, we had situations where people used to do like 50,000 steps in 1 hour of waking up. And how they used to do it is that they will put the watch on, let's say, the fan, या अपने कुत्ते की पूंछ पे बांध देंगे, उसको छोड़ देंगे और रात को 10,000 से 50,000 से 2 लाख steps हो जाएंगे, right? So you used to kind of get those. Of course, we solved it using heart rate detection and wear detection. But initially, we had no idea what to do. So users will game the system to nth level is what we realized.
Okay, it's the last one. So one feature you wished it existed in every product.
I think ability to know when to not use the product. I mean, we are just overstimulated by everything. I mean, all of us know that कि हम रात को अभी सोने से पहले we'll spend 1 hour on reels or watch YouTube or just like read some random things on the internet or listen to just music, whatever it is. I think every great thing has extremities, so you have to have the right balance, I think. And now I think you see a lot of things are coming up, right? People are going back to using analog watches, feature phones use नहीं करते हैं, smart watches के लोग feature phone use कर रहे हैं. People are not wearing smart watches and wearing band without screens, stuff like that, right? So I think one feature that every product should have is when is the time to cut it off for that person, right? So that their life is not impacted.
Amazing. It was really amazing, interacting with you on all these questions. And the best part I loved is we could relate so much with you, even if you are a leader at such a big position, but we could relate with you when you were telling all these things. And I'm sure that all our viewers were relating.
I hope so. Thank you so much. Thanks.
So we'll take a couple of questions from our learners and our viewers. So Darshan has a question that, if I'm interpreting it right, so what about business analyst, or what about the business analyst role in the upcoming days, or how would it evolve according to you?
I think, I have mixed opinion. I don't want to kind of scare anyone, but I think with AI agents and ability for them to kind of ingest large data and generally generate patterns and dashboards very easily, I think the role will transform into other parts of it. But they will require someone who can understand data and kind of translate into a smarter dashboard in the longer run across touch points. I think that is where it is gradually going to move through. Not immediately, but I think data is one part and dashboards and, business analysis is one part where we're seeing a lot of disruption in AI. So that's the sense on it.
Next question from Shivang. And he asked, as a college student building hardware product, how to understand that will this work out in the market or not?
Heavy consumer research. I think prototype testing works a lot, but a lot of it is also going to the market, and before you kind of go to launch, really talking to a lot of users. You'll get some insights which will be valuable, some will not be valuable, because how do you ask the right question? And even if you ask the right question and you get the right direction, it can be that the timing is wrong. The idea is to kind of have a mix of curiosity to ask the right question, but keep on executing, right? Because a lot of times you'll just keep on asking questions and delay the launch. And by the time you launch, competition is caught up, or maybe the timing is not right? So I think it's a mix of both validating it quickly and faster, and then kind of executing faster as well in hardware.
So the next is from Dave, and he asks that what metrics do you personally look at to evaluate if a new AI feature is successful beyond its vanity metrics?
I think it depends on the feature, to be very honest. I think adoption to leading है कि मतलब बंदा use कर रहा है नहीं कर रहा है, right? In terms of, so I'll tell you, like we did something in noise which is called AI smart AI watch faces. Watch faces is like the watch face that you have. and a lot of people wanted to kind of use AI to generate their own watch faces, right? तो जब हमने फीचर लॉन्च करा तो बहुत ही था क्रेजी अडॉप्शन आ गया बिकॉज एवरीवन वांटेड टू क्रिएट वॉच फेसेस बट इट वाज अ कॉस्ट फॉर अस बिकॉज every time there's a call to an LLM at the back end that was generating that request that you had, right? The validation we got from it and we knew it was working right is that the metric we wanted to chase was revenue. So we actually launched a marketplace where people could actually, where we generated really good AI watch faces and we priced it and we said you can buy these under subscription or directly, right? When we started getting some traction on a revenue side, we thought this is working, right? So you have to keep in mind your business goal. Engagement can be a leading indicator, but lagging should be revenue or retention, whatever you're trying to track, essentially from a business standpoint.
Next is another interesting question from Dev. So he asks, like, where do you see the next big opportunity for AI in the wearable tech ecosystem, and how do you see Gen AI influencing the future of personal wellness and also the lifestyle products like noise?
I think it's at a very interesting space because apart from hardcore features like heart rate anomaly detection, AFib detection, what you see, what is happening very interesting is that you can build a lot of stuff on the data that you have, which is very personalized for you. So I'll give you a very interesting example. There's something called AI coach. So you can build multiple coaches. Now you have a smartwatch, you have a phone. Now I can build a weight loss coach for you. So I can say that, yeah, if Dave is eating how much calories फोटो खींचो उसकी calorie input आ गई स्मार्ट वॉच पहनी हुई है उसकी calories burnt पता है मुझे at the end of the day I can tell you you are in deficit or not and I can build a milestone and calendar for you and say कि in 30 days you want to lose this much, this is the calorie intake outtake, and every day I can give you a score. How did you perform? So that you can recalibrate. I can build a sleep coach, I can build a running coach. So there are a lot of these things which are very, very personalized to users which are coming up. Smart rings another form factor, right, which can detect much more accurate data. So they can do more things like, let's say I can detect whether you're going to get ill or not, right? So basis your temperature, your HRV, resting heart rate, you can kind of start predicting whether the person is going to fall sick or not. So you can kind of, if you know 3 days before कि यार मैं बीमार हूँ मुझे लग रहा है वो feeling आ रही है, a lot of times we feel that way, we don't act on it. This can alert you much earlier, right? So you can kind of get into recovery. So a lot of these things are actually going to be the future where predictive health becomes very, very important so that in the longer run you can use this data more smartly for yourself.
And we have another question from Shantanu, and he asks, like, what is the future of data engineering according to you?
The future of data engineering is solid, yeah. I think data is the fuel. I think, again, I said there will be a lot of tools and connectors and AI tools and AI connectors to kind of bridge gaps for AI engineering or like data engineering. But functionally, the rock bed of any kind of LLM is data. So I think it's a future which has immense promise. But again, you have to kind of adapt to the right AI tools. You have to understand what happens next in data engineering as a field from an evolution standpoint, because AI is like disrupting everything that they have from design to data engineering to product, right? So that transition you need to take to, but I think it looks solid in my opinion.
We'll take a last question, and it is from Rishikesh. So he asked, like, as a developer, what are some key skills or mindset that they should focus on? I think we have answered that. And also he asked, like, what should he do to prepare himself for a future role in the industry and also to build better and more impactful applications?
Yeah, I think इसका simple answer देखो यही है that what has happened, I'll tell you. What has happened is that पहले अगर आपको कुछ भी बनाना होता था, अपने लिए बनाना है, किसी और के लिए बनाना है, कोई कंपनी स्टार्ट करनी है, your gap was always engineering, right? You could not like design still I can figure out, but ठीक है design नहीं है, आपको पता है क्या बनाना है, क्या problem है, you can visualize it. But your ability to execute it on ground was very difficult. What has changed? That has changed. AI has bridged that gap. You can actually go ship your designs, actually use so many tools to build your websites, apps, ecosystem directly, right? The only difference is that you have to go and use the tool. मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी, वो tool सीखना पड़ेगा, उस tool में कैसे काम करना है वो सीखना पड़ेगा, right? That is the fundamental thing. But what AI has done is also democratize building, right? So अगर आप पूछ रहे हो कि how do I build more impactful apps, or services from a consumer or a business standpoint, the only way to do that has historically been to build it and test it out. Launch an MVP, test करो, देखो चल रहा है business, ये धंधा, scale it up, right? That's how any business works, right? AI has reduced this timeline for you, right? So you have to go build your prototype, use lovable, bold, emergent. There are tons of things you can do. Non-coders especially can actually go and do it and build world-class stuff, which can help you really test out whether it's working or not. If you know it's scaling, then you use AI tools to scale it further, or you build custom dev, doesn't matter. But you will have to build it and have proof of concept. And that's the only way. Use AI to do that much more smartly, efficiently, and faster.
And so I would just take one more question because it was, continuously popping up. So Brajbhushan asked this question, and a lot of people have asked. So people moving from non-tech to tech in the current time. So what would be your advice in terms of skills or their approach so that they can reach a good position in the coming future?
Yeah, देखो non-tech tech अब कुछ रह नहीं गया है मतलब अब I think if you look at again and again, unfortunately this become like a theme is becoming AI, but non-tech tech कुछ है नहीं. Functionally, you have an interface which can help you do a lot. You have to learn how to use that interface. तो tech है, non-tech है, समझना है, fundamental है, Hindi, English है. This is not a barrier anymore, in my opinion. You can talk to an ChatGPT today. They have the best language model and transcriber. I'm sure आप सबने use करा है. I think it's beautifully designed, right? And you can learn a lot. You can talk to it. You can understand a lot. So I think tech, non-tech अब कुछ रह नहीं गया है. I think जो layer है वो खत्म हो चुकी है. बट अगेन अगर आप नॉन टेक से टेक में जाना चाहते हो तो आपको टेक के फंडामेंटल्स आने चाहिए, आपको बेसिक चीजें पता होनी चाहिए. अब ये बेसिक चीजें टुडे यू कैन लर्न थ्रू चैटजीपीटी, थ्रू यूट्यूब. आई डोंट थिंक कोई यहाँ बैरियर है. आज के दिन में यू हैव 100 YouTube channels and best creators in the world telling you how to become from tech to non-tech using AI. I think that will have like 1,000 videos today, right? Like great creators. So all you need to do is like make that step, input that time, and that's it. That's it. That's the only thing you need to do. Barriers toot gaye. I think this is the best time to build something. This is the best time to go out and try something. Best time to start your business. Best time to learn and fail. जितनी जल्दी कर सकते हो उतना अच्छा है. मतलब तुम्हें कोई डिपेंडेंसी नहीं है किसी बड़ी कंपनी पे जाके सीखना है. मैं किसी कंपनी को ज्वाइन करूंगा लर्निंग के लिए. आप घर बैठ के अपने लैपटॉप पे एक इंटरनेट के साथ. Even ChatGPT has Indian pricing now. So like there is no barrier. Cost is also not a barrier. The cost of inference is coming down. The cost of memory is coming down. So all that is left is for people to go and try. That's it. That's the only thing you need to do. Rest I think is very easily figure out. Everyone is super smart. There is no difference between a great engineer or a bad engineer, a great programmer. The functional difference is trying. That's it.
I think this was really, really amazing, sir, interacting with you, and also really motivational because you have given us some advices which actually people think that, okay, this person is from and top B school, he's an engineer, but your words have really given us that motivation that today's time everything is democratized. It's just our efforts and how we approach it. So thank you so much, sir, for this amazing fireside chat. And I'm sure that all our viewers also liked it. And I request all my viewers to please give your feedback how this session was and how it helped you in your career. So I'm posting the feedback link again. So please go ahead and post your feedback, and also go on LinkedIn and tell us how this session was. And you can tag Mr. Manas and Coding Ninjas 10x Club, and we'll be really happy to see the impact that we are trying to create in your careers. So
yeah, and absolutely, and do like for just like, if anyone has more questions, I'm findable on LinkedIn. You can hit me up, and I'm happy to help.
Sure. So thank you, viewers. Thank you, learners, for joining this session. And once again, thank you so much, sir, for giving your time and for this amazing insights that you have given us. And we hope that in future also we get a chance to interact with you once again.
Absolutely. Same here.
Okay. So that was all from our side. Please go and fill your feedback. That will be really helpful for us. And keep learning, keep exploring, and do keep in mind the suggestions that sir has given. And you will surely take your career from X to 10X. So this is Supratim on behalf of Coding Ninjas 10X Club signing off. A very good night to one and all. And mention keep learning, and we'll surely help you take your careers from X to 10X. A very good night, everyone, and a very good night, sir.
Yeah, good night. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Transformative insights, real world strategies, and opportunities that can shape your career. That's the Coding Ninja 10x Club experience. Now it's your turn. Don't miss the chance to be a part of this exclusive experience. Click the link in the description below to join Coding Ninjas and unlock the insights, mentorship, and opportunities that can take your career from X to 10x. And if you have missed a glimpse of our previous sessions covering insights across domains and industries, be sure to check out our earlier episodes of the CXO Cafe series.